Hello, and welcome to the video on documenting your current capital structure. Now that we've talked about raising capital, the first and most important step that you take is to make sure that you understand, before I go raise more capital, where am I at today? We're providing you in this video a method and the workbook for you to be able to organize and document your equity and your debt that you have in the business, which will help set the basis then for determining what you need going forward. We'll talk about how you confirm first your corporate structure to make sure that you've got all of your corporations lined up. Then we'll talk about putting together your cap table, and that's referred to as a cap table because it is the capitalization of the business. We'll then talk about making sure that you get all of your loans into an overall debt table so that you can understand those. And then finally, we'll take a review of it and see what it shows. Corporate structure. The first thing most of you are going to have is probably a very simple corporate structure, and this will be a very easy step where you just document that I'm a single owner, as you can see here. I own ABC brand, and it's taxed as a LLC, or it's legally an LLC, but it's taxed as an S Corp, and I've got a couple Seller Central accounts underneath it. However, you might also be somebody that has a little bit more of a complex structure set up, and you might have multiple entities. You might have an entity, as you can see in this example, for a consulting company that you have when you go out to Amazon or e-commerce conferences. Maybe you're doing speaking or some advisory work, those types of things. So what you want to do is take the time on a 1 or 2 sheet of paper and just get all of your entities visually lined up so that you can see your corporate structure and put that in your data room. The next step after that, though, is to actually go into, and we provided a very simple sheet to do it in the workbook, is to document the name and the jurisdiction of each one of those particular entities so that you have them listed. And then after you have all of those entities that are listed, you go into each one of them and you outline the current capitalization table of the particular entity. So as you can see in this one, ABC Company LLC has 1,000 shares or units if it's an LLC, and you're the main owner, ABC owner, who owns 65% of the business. You have a business partner that owns 20%. There's an outside investor that came in for 10%, and Dan, the ops key man, is in for 5% of the particular company. This allows you just to see where the equity is in this particular business, and it's absolutely something that a buyer is going to need to see. So why not do it now and put it in the data room? But then secondly, you want to list out your consulting company. So DEF Consulting is owned 100% by ABC, the owner, so that you understand the relationships between each one of those particular entities. Once you have your equity table listed, you can then move on to listing out your current debt structures. Now, debt structure is far more than just the interest rate that you pay. And I want to encourage you to really look at all of the different columns in this debt table on the next few screens so that you can understand all of the different ways to analyze whether or not you're securing good debt capital or not. This is the full view, which is very obviously, as you can see, difficult to read. So let's dive in. The first thing is you want to get the name of the loan down. You want to have the type of the loan, whether or not it's the senior loan, which means in a liquidation event, who gets paid back first. And then you want to list out the personal guarantee or security type of it, business or unsecured. You want to document, here's a key one that people don't do. What are you using this particular money for? And what is the principal amount that you've got, and what's the interest rate and the start dates? And then there's a couple of other key things. It's really best to avoid personal guarantees if you can. However, if you are going to use personal guarantees, only use that capital for existing successful products, because if it goes bad, you owe that money at a personal level. And then the second key thing I'd like to point out on this chart is what is often referred to as a balloon payment or an IO loan or interest-only loan. An interest-only loan allows you to pay interest on it, but you do not have to start paying back the principal for a period of time later. And this is very critical because it helps you manage your monthly service costs versus debt today and future balloon payments that you'll have tomorrow. So as you can see now, the second half of that sheet is it shows these loan names, it shows how much you're going to be financing, the loan term, the payment period, and then some of the information about the rates. And then as you can see here, the loan term in years is actually very, very important because it goes to this ability of debt service. If I've got a 4-year loan and it's interest only, I have a very low amount of debt service because I'm only paying back the interest. Sure, I have a balloon payment that's out there. As you can see, the $25,000 in that last row, but it's less amount of money that I have to pay back month by month. Where a lot of people get themselves into trouble is by having too short of loans in terms of period. For example, if you take out an Amazon loan, it's not uncommon that it has to be paid back in 6 months or maybe 9 months. What most people forget is if you're paying it back in 6 months and you borrow $100,000, that means in only 90 days or 3 months, you probably have paid $55,000 or $60,000. So it's not as much debt financing as what you think. When you put it all together, you get to something that we will be talking a lot about now, which is your overall capital strategy by type of investment. And this is the chart that you've got that's in your workbook. And as you can see, it shows the total amount of capital you brought into the company when you look at debt and equity and all of your own money is $275,000. And your monthly debt service cost right now is $5,596. And against your monthly earnings, that's 37% of your earnings. Now, I'm not going to make a pejorative statement of whether or not that specific number is too high or not, because it's different for every business, growth trajectory, level of risk, aggressiveness of you as an owner. But if you're not tracking your debt service to earnings ratio, it's a very, very dangerous slope because you might literally be raising a bunch of money that you have to pay back quicker than you have the ability to. Then you always want to be looking at how much do I have in that personal guaranteed column. And as I grow my business and I take in more capital in the business or the non-guaranteed, I want to be reducing the amount that I have personally guaranteed in the business. Okay, so the action item is to go into the workbook and document both your current capitalization strategy by populating the cap table for each one of your entities. And you also want to complete the debt structure schedule and analyze the key ratios when you put your debt and equity together as the basis for understanding the capital of your business. The principle on this one is before scaling your business through capitalization, it's critical to see a holistic view of your current capital structure to then design ways to optimize it as a strategic lever for future growth. Don't skip this most important step of getting everything clearly laid out and then managing it over time, because it's critical that you have a clear picture, not just of your debt, but of your overall capitalization ratios. Otherwise, you could find yourself in a scenario where you've taken on debt that you don't have the ability to pay back. And that becomes what people often refer to as a debt death spiral. Please avoid that. And on the flip side of it, this hopefully, as you can see, will be a very useful tool for you to always know at a CEO's level, what's the capital strategy of my business? Thank you.